Hey everyone, I'm Chris the Club Nut and welcome to the Nut House. Today we're going to talk a little bit about grips. With it being the off season, a lot of people are going in, they're getting their grips changed out, things have been too slick, doing a lot of tweaking, and the golf club's kind of been equated to cars a lot. If the shaft is the transmission and your body's the engine, then the grip is definitely the tires. And if you're driving a car and your tires aren't good, you're going to have a rough time doing it. So what you see here before me is some examples. It's the sample packs for Winn, Golf Pride, and Lamkin. They're the three largest grip companies on tour and pretty much anywhere you go. Odds are if you go out to any of your big stores or if you buy any clubs, one of these three companies is going to have their grips on them. The thing you see most, I think, with clubs that you buy right off the rack is the Golf Pride Tour Velvet. This is your standard grip. This is your black radial all-weather sort of tire. What you see here, it's very, very simple. It's got the black with the white rings, and there's these little tiny, I guess you could call them cross-line patterns. A very standard grip. Pretty much any company that makes grips is going to have a standard grip, and they're going to pattern it after this. What I do like about these is that they're relatively cheap. As far as grips go, they are versatile in pretty much anything. What I don't like is that they tend to wear out quickly. And I say that because this grip, I can get a close-up later, I don't know if you can see on the camera, is handled a lot. You can see it's kind of getting kind of dull and it's not really as black, whereas one that hasn't been handled a lot is very, very deep black. That's the accumulation of dirt. And the Tour Velvet is what I call a friction grip, where if you grab it, it's not real tacky. You can kind of slip your fingers over the top of it, but when you grab it and you get your hand in position on it, it is really tough to pull out of there, because once you get your fingers all the way around it and put a little pressure on it, it's got a lot of friction. Next thing we're going to talk about is these kind of composite, they call them multi-compound grips in Golf Pride. They are half cord, half compound. It's a harder rubber compound. They're starting to make them now with the new one here. This is the +4 grip. It has the same half cord, which cord is very good for wicking away moisture. So if you're a sweater, if you have sweaty palms or sweaty hands, you might want to look into a harder cord grip. It'll kind of help get that moisture out and not make them slippery. But what they're doing with the new multi-compounds is this compound on the bottom, this rubber here, is a little bit softer and it's a little bit thicker. What they found out is guys like Rory McIlroy are putting multiple wraps underneath their bottom hand. It just kind of helps it feel less like a toothpick. When you get it in you get your grip on, and they, instead of putting those extra wraps, they figure, why don't we build a grip that's going to have that extra thickness in it. Another grip that has that is the Golf Pride MC2 grips. I'm sorry, the MP2 grips. They have a Pro Series and a Wrap Series. Both of them feel a little bit different. It's really personal preference. Any of these you're pretty much going to find strictly with Golf Pride. They've kind of done the Titleist thing where they innovated things, copyright, patented, the whole 9 yards. So the multi-compounds and things like that are things you're going to find with them. Lamkin has standard wrap grips, very much like a tacky grip they have is their wrap here. This is the Wrap Tech standard. This is a shinier rubber, very much. Golf Pride has two of these here. This is just a mid-size and a standard. They have it in black and white. It's this shiny rubber that's just, you put your hands on it and you can feel it's tacky. If you grab it and let go, it doesn't want to let you go. A lot of guys like this. If you're looking for control and something that's actually really easy to wipe off in the rain and gets tacky again, there's not a lot of absorption with these. So you just take the towel, you wipe it off, it's going to be dry in a second like a chamois, and you're ready to go. The last thing I want to talk about in grips are the very, very soft performance grips. If you're not a guy that likes to wear a glove, I personally don't like to wear a glove, these are the kind of grips you're going to want to gravitate towards. Very, very soft. Pretty much the only company that's in them are Winn grips. basically everybody patterns it after the Winn grip. They started with what's now called the Excel. It just used to be the Winn grip, the Winn Tour wrap. It was brown. Maybe some of you older guys remember that, but it just wrapped straight down, real soft. These are kind of in between the tacky and the friction grips. You can feel them, and just kind of lightly going over, you start to stumble, you start to stutter because it's grabbing you. It's tacky, it's a good grip. But the other thing is they're very, very, very soft to the touch. All of these, even the Tour Velvet, the name would say, oh, it's velvet, it's got to be soft. Not really. They're still all made of hard rubber, different compounds. Some are softer than others, but these use a special way of making them. They use what's called an underlisting, and then they have a layer of absorbent material, and then they have a wrap around the top of that. Pardon me, which makes them very, very difficult to size, which we can talk about later when I do my grip installation video. What these do basically, they really dampen any mishits. You're not going to feel them as much as you would with one of these Tour Velvets or any of the other Lamkin grips. Some guys say that's good, some guys say that's bad. Personal preference. Again, I don't mind it. I can still feel where the club head is, but I know if I catch one thin, I'm not going to hurt my hands. They do have all different kinds of these. You have your wrap, which has the underlisting, like I said. Another very soft grip that Winn makes is their Dry Tack grip, Dry Tack series. Again, underlisting, and then they have a padded layer in between there, and then they have their kind of rubbery, leathery compound, proprietary blend. I know guys that like these a lot, and they put them on there, and they put them on there often, which is kind of the last thing that you want to think about when you're looking at any grips. Grips in themselves, like tires, wear. They wear sometimes quickly, sometimes not as quickly. It depends on how much you play, and it depends on how you keep them. The soft, very, very soft grips tend to wear out more quickly than anything else. This is more prevalent on things like woods that you swing very hard at. You'll start to wear, especially in some of these, you'll start to wear a thumb down at the bottom, and maybe even a little bit at the top where your palm hits. It starts to just kind of fray and become not like the grip. The Golf Pride multi-compounds, that's these guys that you see on tour a lot, I find that these last pretty much forever. I had a set of these on my clubs when I wore a glove. I'm not a hefty swinger. My driver tops out at like 108, something like that. I had them on years and years. Actually, it was probably more like 3 years. And you just throw a little Comet on them if they start to get slick. Warm water, a little dusting of Comet, and I take a, if you have an old fingernail brush from grandma, something like that, or a spike brush. Just give them a good scrub down all the way around, rinse them off with warm water, towel, let them dry, and they're going to be pretty much as good as new. I haven't really worn any spots in them. It's starting to get a little scuffed maybe where my thumb is, but it's nothing like a pit that you would get that I see a lot of times when I take grips off. That's where these come in. Like I said, these are standard on a lot of sets. Guys come in to get re-gripped. I always see that this is the one that they have on there. They haven't really done anything, and it usually has a divot down here from where their thumb is, and it usually has some sort of a rip or a divot up at the top here, just from where their palm is. And these, like I said, they wear. They're a good all-around grip, but you're going to want to re-grip. Probably way more often than you would if you had, say, a multi-compound. The price difference, you just look these up online and you're going to find worlds of different prices depending on who's selling them, but you're probably going to pay about twice as much for one of the multi-compounds as you are for any of the Tour Velvets. Lamkin tends to kind of homogenize their pricing. All their grips are about the same. Very nice budget grip. Winns are going to be some of the more expensive ones, and just because they're softer, full disclosure, you're probably going to be replacing them more often. So you get great feel, but you're going to kind of sacrifice your budget. I hope this kind of helped. I know there's a lot of options out there. There's even more options. You have Super Stroke. They're into round grips now. You also have ribbed and unribbed grips, which we're going to kind of get into again when I do my installation video. But you might want to check your clubs, because I would be willing to bet that there's a good number of you out there that are playing with ribbed grips that don't know you're playing with ribbed grips. And all that means is that there's a channel right along the bottom. If you look at the grip like so, if you hold it, this would be the way you grip your club. If you have the label on the top or the label on the bottom, it doesn't matter as long as the face is upright. Okay? If you feel along the bottom, the grip is not round. And that's because on the bottom side, which would be the bottom side of the grip, they build in an extra rib that goes up. And what that does is it fits right into your fingers, like so. It would be like if you took another rod and kind of held it in the grip. It reminds you that's the position that you want to put the grip. It's a great thing, perfectly legal, as long as it's put in there by the manufacturer, because they have the tolerances that they need and they follow the rules of the USGA to put it in there. I believe it can only be a 32nd of an inch. So if you're going to build one up, make sure you don't go very much further than that, or you look it up. Don't trust me to do that. So again, these are your grip choices. I hope it's kind of been informative. If you have any questions, you can get me at my website. You can get me on my phone. Love a text message or in the Golf Match app. I'm there all the time. Just jump into my Club Nut group, ask yourself a question. I hope this has been informative. Thanks again.